podcast with the new table. I have no idea what to call it.
That sounds makes sense to me. We're simple.
See, I purposely backed my chair up for the sound better. And
Right.
then as soon as I sit down, what do I do?
You want to pull up to the table.
Yeah.
Well, you think it's a beer.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Woodworking Podcast. My name is Nick, and I can be found at nickferry.com, joined with my co-host, Bob Close. Bob can be found at
bobclose.com.
I thought it was closestcustomwoodwork.com.
Well, that's on Facebook.
Oh.
Close Custom Woodwork is on Facebook. Close Custom Furniture is my business. bobclose.com is my website.
Well, there you go. All right, so bobclose.com. We're really just kind of winging it here. Been a little bit since we did a podcast last, and mostly I think that's because of summer. Summer always gets busy.
Yep.
And all that good stuff. But for those watching on the YouTube channel, I'm just going to read this question, and then I'm going to get my laptop out of the way. I'm more of a pen and paper kind of guy, but the questions come in through our website. If you have a question or a topic that you want to bring up for the podcast, go to thewoodworkingpodcast.com, and in the Contact Us section, there's a little form you can fill out. And so anyways, the question here from Stephen Weber is, how can I get wood to stop warping in the hot and dry Phoenix climate? And we'll get to that one in a second. Just let me get my laptop out of the way. And before I do that, I'll thank everyone over on Patreon for supporting the podcast. Go to patreon.com/The Woodworking Podcast, and you can help out and put a little bit of beer money in our pockets.
Thank
or
you.
for you, whiskey.
Bourbon.
Bourbon, that's right. Oh, I was so close.
It's okay.
But anyways, so thank you guys much over there. You want to jump right into that question? Because I have a feeling this question could go 20 to 40 minutes.
It could real easy. Drying wood is always an experience. I've been doing it for a long time, and one of the first things you want to do, and this is up here in Wisconsin, but you want to make sure after you saw the wood, you either want to end coat the ends before you saw the log or after you saw it, and use anchor seal. A lot of guys will try roofing tar, they'll try latex paint, they'll try oil-based paint. Anchor seal is by far the best way to go. It's an emulsified wax. And it just seals better, and it still allows the air to get through, and it allows it to dry, but it'll prevent the cracking. Another trick that works really well is when you sticker it to air dry, get the stickers as far out on the ends as you possibly can. Believe it or not, it does stop the checking some.
Well, I suppose the weight, there is weight on there and friction kind of keeping.
Yeah, but I guess what it is, from Dr. Wengert is kind of the wood guy. He talked about getting them as close to the ends as you can, that it helps prevent end checking, and it does. For whatever reason, I'm not a scientist, I don't understand it, but if you move the stickers in 6 inches, you'll have checks for 6 inches. If you move them out to like an inch of the end, you'll have checks for an inch.
Yeah, and you're saying the outermost stickers.
Right, the outermost
obviously
stickers.
You're not going to have an 8-foot long board with no stickers in the middle.
Right, exactly. And I put my stickers, first of all, you want to have a nice flat level bed where you start up off the ground, 6 or 8 inches. You can use blocks, cement blocks, you can use steel, whatever you got, get it up off the ground at least 6 or 8 inches, 12 inches. The higher the better. I like to place my stickers every 12 to 18 inches. I tend to put more stickers than less. If I'm doing an 8-foot board, I'll use 7 stickers. It's all about having your pile level, because that's going to do a lot to how your wood dries. If it dries level and flat, or if it warps and twists, a lot of it can be traced back to what your pile started with. In the desert, the biggest thing I can tell you for drying, other than sticker placement, is make sure you dry it out of the sun. Yeah. Any type of wood that you get, you want to get on stickers and out of the sun, whether it's under a roof, in a building. In a building, you want lots of airflow, just like you would being outside. The more airflow, the better the stuff dries. White oak is a different bird altogether, that you have to be careful not to dry too fast, or you get all little surface checks.
Yep. Which actually can be pretty in a finish, especially if you do a gloss coat with epoxy and then sand it smooth.
I think it looks like crap, but that's
Really?
okay.
A gentleman yesterday I saw was putting like a royal blue epoxy in those surface checks.
Okay.
And it just was a real nice contrast, and it was.
See,
Yeah.
contrast. That's another whole discussion. Contrast is nice if you like contrast.
Yeah.
And epoxy's nice. I think there's way too much of it used nowadays on projects, but
Like river tables.
oh, river tables and everything and their brother that's got epoxy poured in it.
We're definitely kind of going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but I think that's kind of the fun thing here. But I saw one the other day to where it was the opposite. I get like an inside-out river table to where the wood was on the inside and it was fully encased
In epoxy?
All I could think of was that wood is going to want. I know it's encased, but it's
going to move.
Yeah, I would imagine.
It's going to move. You know, you can put 25 coats of lacquer on something, it's still going to move. I mean, on a piece of wood, it's still going to move. It slows down the movement, but it still moves. That's just wood.
And this was like 16 inches wide. So
I would love to see some of this stuff. Countertops. I've seen people that put in these beautiful countertops. They're all wood. I'd love to see them in a year and see what they look like.
Yeah.
Because I just don't think they'll hold up, but they're going to look like you used them for a year. You know, they're just going to get beat up, dinged up, dented up.
Yeah.
Getting back to the drying wood in the desert, I don't want to leave the poor guy out there. Get it out of the sun, get it stacked and stickered, get a lot of airflow on it.
And what about, because I know a lot of times you band yours, or at least weight on the top.
Weight on the top is big. Again, there's schools of thought that weight doesn't do anything. It depends on the tree. If you cut a gnarly, ugly tree, which I do a lot of times with bird's eye, you're going to get wood that moves and twists and warps because that's the nature of the tree.
Yeah.
If you cut a nice ash or oak or maple that's nice, even, straight grain, that just lays there like a dead body and doesn't move a lot. I don't know what kind of woods you have in the desert. I know there's desert ironwood, and your buddy Ty he cuts eucalyptus, which I always thought was in Australia, but must be like some hybrid they bring up. I don't know, but he cuts a lot of eucalyptus into slabs. And I did ask him a question the other day about he was drying some stuff. He had it against a wall and in the shade, and he said, out in the desert, it's important to have it in the shade and out of as much direct sun as you can because it dries. It's so dry.
Yeah.
If you take a wood and dry it too fast, even air drying it too fast, you can run into issues with
like case hardening.
Like case hardening. Yeah, it's not going to be as severe as doing it in a kiln, but you're still going to get it where it's honeycombed and cracked, and it's just basically worthless.
Yeah.
So.
Let's pause there. I gotta let the dogs out. I heard them barking.
Go ahead.
Not a single thing can go right, I tell you. So we were on the topic of drying too quick.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we were able to bring this question up because you know a lot about kilns. You know a lot about drying. I mean, I've read Gene Wengert's. It wasn't his doctoral dissertation, but
no.
It was a couple, I want to say close to 100 pages of commercial drying, big kiln drying, solar kiln drying, everything. Maybe if I can find a copy of it, a legitimate, not bootleg one, maybe I'll leave a link for it. But Dr. Gene Wengert, he pretty much wrote, because he did write the book on kiln drying wood.
Kiln drying wood, anything to do with woodworking a lot. He did a lot of industrial stuff.
Yeah.
His big thing was, you cut everything into 2-inch wide pieces and alternate the grain and glue it together. And, that was all Dr. Gene.
But another thing, he does a lot of yield for commercial kiln drying.
Yep. Well, yield for factory, period.
Yeah.
Furniture manufacturing.
That way, the more yield, the better the margins and all that stuff. But you know a lot more about it because I know our other friend Bob has been trying to talk you into buying a vacuum kiln.
I've been trying to talk him into one.
Oh, vice versa. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
See, that's what happens when there's two people in this world named Bob.
There's a whole lot more of us too. You know, it's interesting because I've been taking loads to a vacuum kiln on the far west side of the state, and I just can't tell you how wonderful it is. I took 3 and 4 inch thick bird's eye over there the first load because that's always taken me 4 and 5 years to dry.
Yeah.
6 days
Wow.
from
4 inch thick.
4 inch, 3 and 4 inch thick bird's
6
eye
days.
maple. 6 days from
What-
green to 8% moisture.
To 8.
To 8% moisture. No cracking, no checking, no case hardening. I mean, the stuff came out dead flat, came out bright white. Unbelievable. It's an expensive machine. You know, you're looking at probably $200,000 for a 3,000-foot kiln to get it up and going.
Weren't you saying that there was a university out of New Zealand that was trying to get rid of one?
They did, yeah, that's gone.
Oh,
I looked at that for a long time. I should have bought it, but I was dumb.
yeah. I
But
bet your wife was happy though.
well, yeah, you know, at my age, I don't want to go into debt, so it's like
No, that makes sense. That
it
does.
just. If I was 10 years younger, I would get one. I think the market is there for it, especially with all the specialty stuff that's out there nowadays, the thick wood slabs and a lot of these urban trees that they're cutting that's just gnarly wood that if you try to dry it in a conventional kiln, it's just going to warp and twist and crack and break. The one I've been looking at the most was it's made in Pennsylvania by a company called PCS Vacuum Kiln Technologies, I think. The owner's a wonderful guy. He's answered every question I've ever posed to him, and he speaks in terms that I can understand, which is nice. But he's kind of the originator in this country of vacuum kiln technology, and the whole story behind it's interesting. They basically started out 40 years ago with a giant microwave. And an interesting thing of that is that's what the Chinese have nowadays for vacuum technology is a microwave. I wouldn't buy one, but people have, and good for them. The vacuum kilns are great for thick stock, odd stock. They've made kilns, and the reason he's done kilns all over the world. The biggest thing for them is drying species that have never been dried before because they're just too hard. That's why they have a lot of them in New Zealand and Australia
Yep.
and Asia and all that. He was telling me about a beech species down in Australia that nobody could ever successfully dry. And I don't recall if it's a red beech or a blue beech or whatever, but they can dry it without any defect, and they can dry it in a very, very short time. And that's the sort of thing that drives this whole technology aspect of it.
Stuff that people haven't been able to do before.
He did they can do burls in these things, big burls. There was a fella that bought his kiln and he dried these big, some imported species of burl, and he makes $30,000 rocking chairs. They're absolutely gorgeous, and there's no defect. You know, it's stuff like that that drives that whole end of the business. But vacuum technology is definitely the way to go for thick material. If you've got one, there aren't a lot of them in the U.S., but if you've got one within 500 miles and you've got something really good to dry, you should really get it done there.
There you go. Good information. Let's back up and I guess maybe kind of bulletize the points here. And I also, in case the question was more, maybe it was dry wood already. Maybe he wasn't trying to actually dry wood, but so the bullet points for dry Arizona, slow the drying.
Slow the drying.
Well, we should start with the second it's cut.
Right, it should
Seal it.
Seal it. The ends should be sealed. Get it on a level platform. Use good stickers that are kiln dried stickers. You don't want to use wet stickers between wet wood. You get stain.
Yeah.
You don't want to use, oak stickers on maple because you'll get stain. You try to use the species that's close to what you're drying, and you want to make sure that they're dried stickers because that can induce all kinds of problems. And if you've ever had a beautiful board and had sticker stain that runs in it, it looks like you're in jail with bars in the windows. It's not pretty.
Yeah.
get it out of the sun, get lots of airflow. And if you have material that you bought that, say you bought from me and you're in Arizona, I would say when you get it, sticker it for a while in your shop and let it acclimate. Because
How long you think for say Arizona? Because
well,
Arizona,
I'm guessing in Arizona, guys would have air conditioned shops. I don't know.
not everyone.
Not everyone.
No.
I don't know.
I mean, obviously we can't. We didn't survey all of Arizona, but
No.
but like even yeah, I have a few friends out in that area, and some do, some don't.
Well,
It's
yeah,
just-
that your friend he's got his shop out in the summer, right outside. Didn't he have a tent put up and then he was working outside?
I'm trying to think of who that was.
The mono local guy.
Oh, Ty Moser.
Yeah, yep.
Well, yeah, he does all sorts of stuff. He's been doing a lot of urban milling and
Yeah,
all
he
sorts
does. Yep.
But I was thinking about my friend Sean Rubino,
Okay.
and he just got air conditioning. I think it was last summer,
Okay.
and I don't even have the air running here today. I got more project. I got to finish that potting bench out back, which I forgot to show you before we started this, so you could then say how gorgeous it was.
It's gorgeous. I've seen it on my
There
phone.
goes your credibility.
Yeah, well,
40 years of credibility out,
shot down
out
the
the
tubes.
window.
But yeah, if you're going to buy wood from someplace and ship it to Arizona, I would sticker it for probably a few days at least. Probably a few weeks is better.
And would you say putting some weight, some cinder blocks, something on top?
Well, it depends what
Is
you're
worth
buying.
the
A
effort.
lot of what I ship out for bundles of wood is just 3 and 4 foot pieces. So, you aren't going to need blocks on top of that, but you do want the airflow and to get it acclimated to the area that you're in. Arizona's a lot drier than we are. I mean, it's hot here, but it's really humid.
Yeah.
Judging by Nick's shirt, you can tell. So,
And one thing too, I always found interesting years ago. We have basements in the part of the country, and once in a while you get a flooded basement. Some pump goes out or whatever. But one thing that I always thought was just neat when somebody does get a flooded basement, a company has to come in and clean it up. Think about air flow and movement. Oftentimes more than the actual moisture content, humidity, barometric pressure in the air. Because they'll have one commercial dehumidifier in the base, but then they'll have like 10 fans.
Yep.
And so if the air's not moving, you can't dry it. And that's another thing with even some of these solar kilns. You got to have air movement. It could be a stagnant, 120 degrees in there.
But that's just it. I knew a guy that I've got a solar kiln, and I knew another guy that had a solar kiln. I have fans in mine. He never had fans in his. And he'd always say, well, my stuff is kiln dried. And you'd go get it, and you could measure the moisture, and it'd always be like 12 or 14%. It wasn't kiln dried. You can get it 150 or 180 degrees in there, but it's not going to dry because it stays ambient air, moisture. So I always get a kick out of guys that say they can air dry wood down to 6%. You can stick it in your garage and you can put fans on it, and you might be able to get it down there. I've never been able to get it below 10. So to me, you have to get it below 8. 10% will work for a lot of things if you build right, but if you're going to do casework or something, 8 or 7 is much better. It just is.
Yeah, especially even like breadboard ends, stuff like that. I mean, either way, you have to allow for the movement.
Right. Always.
But you're going to see less differentiation seasonal.
Yep.
If you have like say a 24-inch top and it was 10%, you're going to see that swing to where there's going to be a gap in that breadboard that could be almost up to a 1/4 inch.
Yep, easy.
But versus if it's say 7% moisture content, you could probably get that down to 16, maybe just 1/8 of an inch.
And it all depends if you use wide boards or narrow boards.
Yeah.
I tend to like wide boards. So I've done a lot of breadboard ends over the years. They look nice for a while, but they're always going to have a variation spring and fall, either sticking past the ends or being inset from the ends, because it's just the wood always moves.
Yeah,
so.
and I'm fine with that. And I consider myself halfway particular about things, but maybe it's because of the woodworking end of things to where I know that it moves. And I'd almost rather see that movement than not see it with a stickered MDF core.
Yes, I agree.
You know,
I agree.
The funny thing is, my sister-in-law, and I've posted this once or twice on Instagram, but my sister-in-law has one of those. I don't know who makes it. I mean, I know Ashley's one of the big furniture manufacturers, but
The biggest.
yeah, one. It has Dutchman, the bow ties in it, and the grain, obviously it's 100% for looks, and the grain's going in the wrong direction. And so once in a while I'm sitting at her table and I just take a picture because it makes me chuckle. You would think that the engineers or the furniture designers or whomever could at least get that right. If you want to imitate something that was meant to be structurally a repair,
Right.
you figure you'd get the grain direction right.
You would think so. That shows maybe they're cutting corners on their design people. I don't know.
It was
won't
great.
even
It
go there.
made me laugh.
It's funny. You see things going into a pottery barn. Thankfully, I've never done that, but I've had people send me pictures of things where they want built that looks like something in Pottery Barn, and it's interesting when you go on the website and you look at some of the stuff and just what you said. You'll have things with grain going in the wrong direction and things that you can look at and know if you built it that way out of solid wood, it just would fall apart or break or crack or whatever. You know, it's just not right.
This is literally, we can get on and off topic, and I'm really good at that. But it flows. I fixed a cabinet door for a gal the other day where her son went to pull the doorknob, and the whole stile just popped right off.
Wow.
And I guess some gentleman made it years ago. It looked like it was almost a little bit factory made, but finish before the rails and stiles were glued on the cope and stick joint, and the glue couldn't penetrate into it. It was
really?
It was solid wood, but the glue couldn't penetrate.
Well, no.
And that's what I told her. I said, that's really odd. I don't think I've ever seen that in my life. But I mean, I've pre-finished panels to make sure that you get underneath, because as we were talking with seasonal movement, if you ever see like a 6-panel colonial door or something in the wintertime, all of a sudden you have around a perimeter of bare wood, and you're like, that wasn't like that before. Well, the panel shrunk,
right,
and they didn't pre-finish it to get underneath.
Correct.
But
yeah, that's not a sign of good construction if they finished it before they glued it.
It was interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure. I've had people that have come back to me with a piece that their child broke because they swung on it like Tarzan. You know, and it's a little pine door on a cabinet with 2 little hinges, and they decided they wanted to swing across the living room. So
I had to fix a door for a gal the other day to where they ordered a left-hand swing and then a right-hand swing arrived or whatever. And I basically just mortised the other side. It was going in a closet that was behind another door in a bathroom. So they were never, they didn't want to reorder the door. But what kind of amazed me was this was 6-panel, solid oak door, and the installers left what I call shipping screws. I always replace the center screw on both the door and the jamb so that it goes into the stud.
Right.
Because
solid, long screw, yep.
And you got to search out, if it becomes a little bit. I mean, that's why they call it work. I mean, it's not easy, but if brass or satin nickel or any of that stuff, so you have to have a screw that matches. But I can't believe that the screw's 3/4 inch.
Yep.
So that's 3, 6, 9 on one side, 9 on the other, 18 3/4 inch screws. I've seen those doors pretty much just pop off.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Well, and it's interesting. Well, that's a whole nother thing too. The door construction nowadays. There's guys that make really good doors that I know, but they're one-off doors that guys take their time. They'll, everything is, the wood's chosen, it's all quarter sawn. It makes the whole core of the door, and then they'll, overlay it with thick veneer that they slice themselves. And a door like that versus a door from a large Home Depot place, there's just no comparison. Yeah. But you're looking at thousands of dollars versus $129.
Yeah.
It's like Hollowcore doors.
Yeah, Luan with some cardboard between it.
Exactly, and that's all it is.
Yeah.
You know, and a little wood strip on either side for the door handle to fit in and the hinges to screw in.
Yeah, and in case I didn't clarify for people listening, a hollow core door and things of that nature, I mean, we're talking probably less than 20 pounds.
Oh yeah, easy, easy.
And so if we'll imagine in both scenarios that it's 3 hinges per door. If they're 3/4 inch screws going into the jamb, going into the door on a hollow core door, I haven't really ever seen any issues with that. But when people start retrofitting or installing hardcore, hardcore, these are hardcore doors, solid core doors, you want to replace one screw that goes into the center, one
the
screw.
center hole of the hinge.
The center hole of the, yeah. So I'm trying to, do it with my fingers here, and I'm like, oh, not everyone watches the YouTube end of it. But 2-inch screw in the center of each of the hinges that each goes into the jamb and the door.
Into the frame.
And at least the top and bottom hinge. Might as well do the middle one while you're in there.
Yep.
But that way, because, yeah, you see people, all sorts of towels and towel racks and all sorts of things getting hung on this. And now you're adding what was less than a 20-pound door. Now you're at probably close to 70, 80 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's very true. That's a whole subject we could cover for a long time.
Because the first time I ever came across that, it was a newer construction, less than a year old, spec home. The company that built it went out of business. It was a 1-year warranty, but it wasn't even a year. And a lady called me up and said, hey, can you take a peek at this? And that's what it was. The door literally fell just from normal use. And I said, that's because they didn't replace the
screws.
Yeah, those 3/4 screws are just going to pull right out on those.
Yep.
But,
institutional doors are fun too. That's a whole different.
Oh yeah.
I used to work on those, and I mean, you have a 10-foot door that weighs 1,500 pounds, and it's on pivot hinges, top and bottom.
Yep.
And yeah, you get that you have to move it in and out, and it's not fun.
Speaking of large doors, I posted this on Instagram probably less than a year ago, and I thought it would get a lot more attention. People would find it more interesting. Maybe I didn't photograph it right, but theater doors. Mm-hmm. And these are close to 20 feet tall.
Okay.
And about 10 feet wide, and they're double doors. And you want to talk, I mean, it's a piano hinge, a robust industrial,
Yep.
but those doors have to be close to 800 to maybe 1,500 pounds a piece.
Yep.
And it's to get large set pieces in and out and scenery changes and stuff. Those doors always amaze me because, I mean, obviously big door and everything, but it's got a tiny little normal size handle, and I can just grab it, open it, and you don't realize how well they're installed. I would love to see guys installing these things, the hinges and everything, but how plumb and everything it has to be to where it almost feels as effortless as opening a hollow core door, and here I'm just opening this 1,200 pound or more door.
Yep.
It's just crazy.
It is. I remember replacing the pivots on doors, and you'd have to take the door off, which was no easy task inside a building, and then move that out of the way, and then take the pivots were all set in concrete.
Okay.
So you had to make sure that whatever replacement unit you had fit in that hole. Otherwise, you were having to chip out concrete and make it fit and get it level. And it was a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I'd imagine. Anytime concrete's involved, my train of thought, you can almost like see me getting derailed. And I heard that concrete or cement prices have gone through the roof.
I've heard that too.
Because speaking of
$150 a yard is what I heard last.
Ty Moser was looking at building a new shop and talking about his pool, and I could have swore he said between last year's quote for an in-ground pool and this year's was $5,000 more, just based on the cement variation price.
I was going to have a cement slab poured last year that never got poured, but it's because the contractor never showed up. But the price they gave me last year I thought was dirt cheap, and then what I heard concrete going for this year, it's like doubled. I mean, it just unbelievable.
It's almost like with home renovation, you almost have to consider it like a commodities trading market.
Well, glass is, yeah.
Yeah, because I wanted a slab pour it on the side of my garage for various things. And yeah, last year I bet you any money it'd probably be close to double this year.
Yeah, I bet it would.
And that's only come in my favor once, when my old shop, I did all the wiring myself, and this was a commercial, I think it was almost 3,000 square feet, and ran all the wire myself, and I had, I don't know, 5 or 10 spools of individual strand copper wire. And those spools sat around for like 10 years in the back of a cabinet. And until a buddy of mine who's an electrician saw them and said, "Oh, what are you doing with these?" And I saw they've just been kicking around for about 10 years. He goes, "What do you want for them?" I ended up selling them to him, used, for triple what I paid for them, because copper went up that much over 10 years.
Geez, I've got some of that sitting around.
Yeah. I mean, you can see Romex is hanging on my...
Yep.
But yeah, that's one of those things. That's the only time I ever come ahead on that. Maybe I'll hold on to my aluminum cans, and I'll get a big,
There you go. That'll be fun. Oh my.
Yeah. Crazy stuff.
Yep. So about your bench, your potting bench.
Yeah.
It's made out of white cedar?
White and red.
Oh.
I got it from Menards, and I'm not necessarily sure that they're 100%.
It looked like white cedar. That's why it was.
There's a couple pieces in there that are definitely red cedar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of the bummer, because at one point I got to cut these narrow slats that are 3/4 inch square, and I set aside pieces that were clear, and because I knew if I was ripping those, if I got a knot in the middle of a 3, it's just going to break in half.
Right.
Well, it just so happens, and I'll show you later, but those clear pieces I think are red cedar.
Oh, interesting. Must be western red cedar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's a little bit of a juxtaposition with the pieces of, but I think I kind of got it all figured out. Stacy saw it for the first time yesterday, complete, and she's absolutely thrilled with it.
Well, that's good.
That's all I can ask for, because for those listening that didn't know, I built a raised planting bed for my wife.
Right.
She wanted to get into like tomatoes and pepper plants and all this stuff. I just built it out of pine, slapped it together. I did it on an Instagram stories kind of thing, and it literally took me less than an hour to make this thing. And she took to it in a hurry. She was going out there every day and checking them and making sure the mulch and things in.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's awesome. Well, then she wanted like a potting bench to kind of put some of her stuff in her watering can, and so that was the project du jour, was a potting bench, to where there's a little graded area. I'll have a video out on my YouTube channel probably within about a week. I hate to say dates, because then I don't even know when I'm going to release this podcast.
Yeah,
so
I'm still waiting for a Valentine's box. So.
Yeah, part 1 of that's out. You just rewatch that. That is legitimate. I'm not good for the whole YouTube game when it comes to that. I'm more of a woodworker than I ever was a YouTuber.
It's okay. You do good at both, so it's not a problem.
But yeah, no, that potting bench came out, and that's actually going to start kind of a long. I don't want to give too much information away, but I used a water-based outdoor varnish on that, and it's a very interesting product, and I want to kind of test it out, and I want to see what this potting bench looks like in a year.
I'll be curious to see, because I like stuff like that. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how it holds up. I already kind of know, because I was trying to finish the bench yesterday, and it just started downpouring. And I did note, and I took a short video of it, I did note that in some of the checks and some of the knots, the finish didn't penetrate, didn't bridge the gap, so you could see water had gotten into some of the knots where the little checks are.
Right.
And
well, it's not going to span. I mean,
no, but I figured I laid it on pretty thick. I thought it would have at least absorbed.
It still goes
down. But you could see. So that'll be interesting as well, and that's kind of neat that there are some clear boards on there. It's completely not free, because those I sealed real good.
And you did all the sides and ends and underside.
Yep, all 6 sides to every single piece before I assembled it. And one thing, I did 5 coats on the end grain of the feet. That's something worth noting.
Yep.
If you want to go overkill, certain companies make penetrating epoxies, or you can use a regular epoxy and coat the bottom. What's that?
Tight Bond 3
Or
works.
or Tight Bond 3, and you
Yep.
can even water it down a hair to try and get it to absorb a little bit deeper.
Yep.
But if you're having end grain, whether it's cedar, pressure treated, bare wood, pine, whatever it is, end grain sitting in the dirt, sitting in the soil, it's just going to act as a sponge, and that's where your first rot's going to come from. So I paid close attention to getting 4 or 5 coats, heavy coats on the end grain. And I might even, with that bench turned out so pretty. I might end up putting that up on like little patio blocks or something so that,
Good idea.
you know.
Yep.
But the little raised planting bed is bare pine end grain sitting in the dirt. Like I said, built it in an hour.
Right.
Shopped for the materials in 20 minutes. Built it in my head. Came back and so. But she's already wanting another one for next year, so that I'll make a video on, and I'll make that one out of cedar, and I'll seal the legs up real nice. And I think I'm gonna switch to 4x4s. I figured we figured volumetrically wise there was 600 or 700 pounds of dirt
I
in
believe
that.
it.
It doesn't really wiggle or anything like that, but the bottom isn't necessarily the most robust in the world. And so if I do another one and I know she's going to be into it and it's not going to, it's not going to turn into a Nick Valentine's Day box.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
So that'll be next spring's project.
Okay,
But yeah.
good.
What do you got working on? You just bought a couple shipping containers.
I bought 3 shipping containers. 2 of them are full. One with bird's eye and one with curl. The third one, we'll probably get the overrun of the bird's eye and the curl. I've been getting a lot of lumber in. Springtime is always a busy time for me getting lumber down from the mills because they'll have cut all winter.
Mm-hmm.
And with the figured stuff, that's when I get the bulk of it. So, and I also started working with a mill out of Pennsylvania for curly cherry and walnut. And
Yeah, that's the stuff that I helped you ship out.
Yep.
Yeah.
That
was some big stuff.
That's some very big stuff. The walnut that's sitting there air drying right now will be going to the vacuum kiln. Just some beautiful, best walnut I have ever seen.
Really?
It's all veneer grade logs. These are not typical walnut logs. These are all high-end veneer logs. So the material that comes out is big, wide, and clear, and he cuts off probably 98% of the sap. So you wind up with just dark heart walnut.
That'll be nice.
It'll be very nice. And
Speaking of walnut, I got to get Bob, our friend Bob, who's got the
Yes.
sawmill.
yes,
He still has 3 walnut logs from a walnut tree that I
yep,
cut down last summer. I think it was last. And that's got to be a video because it made me think
Yep.
when you talk about gorgeous walnut, my wife wants a kitchen table out of that walnut.
that'll be
tree.
nice. That'll be nice.
Yeah.
That should make a nice table.
Yeah.
That'd be a nice video. Bob
Yeah.
would like that.
Oh yeah, and he already said that I could do a video at his mill
Yep.
and stuff, and cutting it up and trucking it around, and he's got his kiln, and
Yep, he'll dry it
that'll
for
make
you.
some interesting footage.
Kiln's not real interesting.
No,
It's just a
that's-
big fan running.
I didn't lay
Yeah,
the
it's okay.
sarcasm on thick enough. Be like, here's this 8-hour video is of a vacuum kiln.
Yeah,
It's drying.
drying wood. Yeah,
Time lapse of paint drying.
and I'm finishing up a pair of dressers, which are, turned out pretty nice. I'm happy. Hopefully, we'll get more done today.
Cool.
And I've got.
I know
a
you've been
bunch of
posting that on
stuff
Instagram, so
Yep.
if anyone's curious what those look like, check out Bob Close 456
on Instagram.
on the Instagrams.
So, anything else?
No, I think we had to start and stop a couple times, so I don't know what necessarily how much time it went through or whatever, but yeah,
I think we did okay.
awesome. Again, thank you to all the patrons over on patreon.com/the Woodworking Podcast, and as well as thanks for the question today. I think that we beat that one to death.
Yeah, I think so.
So if you go to the woodworkingpodcast.com, in the contact us, there's a form. If you got a question, comment, topic, idea,
Let us know.
Yeah, be happy to discuss it. Bob's big into figured woods and drying and wood distribution and finish.
Wood period. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be good stuff. Cool. Well, until we see you guys next time, you guys take her easy.
Yep.
That's a wrap.
Okay.